Amnesty International has called for a fair and impartial investigation into the alleged unlawful killing of protesters across Nepal during the youth-led Gen Z demonstrations in September, urging accountability for all those responsible. The human rights organization said that widespread failures by Nepal's law enforcement agencies in handling the protest resulted in unlawful killings, citing what it described as the unnecessary and excessive use of force.
We have found the law enforcement officials of Nepal not just ill-prepared, but also, recklessly using the weapons. So they should have avoided those weapons, and the use of those weapons were in contravention of the international standards Nepal should subscribe to. So that has ultimately resulted into human rights violations. And therefore, the authorities, including those who have given those commands, and they could be the chief district officer, they could be the chief of the police, but also the home minister. And if you go to the top, it might include the prime minister as well. Should be fairly, impartially investigated and should be held to account.
On Monday, Amnesty International released an investigative report titled "We Went There to Raise Our Voice, Not to Be Killed," detailing the alleged atrocities committed during the Gen Z protests. The report documents the deadly crackdown on largely peaceful demonstrators in Kathmandu on September 8, during which security forces allegedly used escalating and ultimately lethal force, including live ammunition. According to the organization, security forces used water cannons, sometimes deploying high-pressure jets at close range, raising serious concerns over necessity and proportionality under international human rights norms. Amnesty International says such misuse of less lethal weapons violates international standards, including the UN Basic Principles on the Use of Force and Firearms by law enforcement officials, the UN Human Rights Guidance on Less Lethal Weapons, and Nepal's Local Administration Act.
The right to life of people has been compromised. As you can see, on the very first day of the protest on 8th of September, 19 people. Now we know that it's 22 people, but initially the figure was 19 people. They were killed. Subsequent to that incident, there were multiple deaths. In total, it was 76 currently. So the right to life is the fundamental violation that, the security forces committed that day. Also, then you had a whole range of other human rights violations, like, for example, people were arrested, people were detained, but also people faced other violences such as torture, ill treatment.
The report concludes that Amnesty International did not find any circumstances indicating an imminent threat of death or serious injury that could justify the lethal force used. It states that the deliberate or reckless use of live ammunition, projectiles, water cannons, and tear gas against largely peaceful protesters cannot be justified under any circumstance. With Parliament dissolved and elections scheduled for March 2026, Nepal is navigating a turbulent political transition. Following 5 days of deliberation, former Chief Justice Sushila Karki was appointed interim Prime Minister. She subsequently recommended the dissolution of Parliament and is mandated to oversee the March 5, 2026 elections.